Last season, the Los Angeles Lakers miraculously found themselves in the Western Conference Finals despite a miserable 2-10 start to the season, a whole bunch of Westbrook drama, and both Anthony Davis and LeBron James missing significant time due to injury. The turnaround to the year was possible in large part due to mid-season acquisitions that brought in new faces to a locker room that desperately needed it. Couple all of that with Austin Reaves emerging as a quality rotation piece in the latter part of the year, and now we have a team heading into the new year with very, very high expectations. And those expectations reached new heights when many people perceived the Lakers offseason to be a pretty good one, thus thrusting this team into championship conversations. However, here we are in January and the Los Angeles Lakers are very far removed from those talks, as the storied franchise finds itself hovering around 500 with a putrid offense, and those offseason acquisitions not really panning out the way that many people expected. And of course, when the Los Angeles Lakers do not meet expectations, the entire NBA community is put on notice. The fan base is demanding trades, pivotal information is being leaked, and head coach Darvin Ham's job is on the line. But before any significant changes are made to this team, I decided to take a step back and try to figure out why exactly the Los Angeles Lakers are this bad, and what exactly can this team do realistically that can put them back into those championship conversations. First, let's talk about Darvin Ham, because as of late, there's been a lot of conversations around the second-year head coach. So much so that there's actually been a push from the fan base for him to lose his job, which honestly may seem a bit extreme, but I do believe the criticism is valid. For example, an ongoing theme with the Lakers this year has been inconsistent lineups and rotations. Coach Ham, when addressing these concerns, essentially just chalked it up to injuries and claimed that the only way this team is going to be able to get back in full rhythm is when everyone is healthy. Now, to be fair to Darvin Ham, some of that is actually true. Gabe Vincent has only been available for 5 games, Rui Hachimura has been in and out of the lineup all season long, and Vanderbilt missed the first 20 games of the season. Sprinkle in a bunch of other miscellaneous injuries, and you can clearly see how hard it can be for a team to build up some type of chemistry and continuity when there's been so many inconsistencies with players who've been available. And this can really be seen when you start to realize that the Lakers only have one lineup that's been able to play over 150 minutes so far this season. That lineup is D'Angelo Russell, Cam Reddish, Taurean Prince, LeBron James, and Anthony Davis, and that lineup together has played a grand total of only 151 minutes. That's it, which is completely unheard of this deep into the season. However, all of this is still very disingenuous from Darvin Ham, because no one is being critical of him for not playing players who aren't available, rather than being very indecisive with some of his lineups while also putting players on the floor with one another that don't really fit at all. For example, in the beginning of the season, the Lakers starting 5 consisted of D'Angelo Russell, Austin Reaves, Taurean Prince, LeBron James, and Anthony Davis. And literally within the first 9 games of the season, Ham decided to make a change, taking out Austin Reaves and inserting Cam Reddish into the starting 5. Mind you, Austin Reaves has been available all season long, so that decision had absolutely nothing to do with injuries. Then some 20 some odd games later, Ham made another change to the starting lineup by taking out D'Angelo Russell and inserting Jared Vanderbilt. Mind you, at that time, both D'Lo and Vando were healthy, so again, this has nothing to do with injuries. And then he made another change to the starting 5 just 4 games later by taking out Vanderbilt and inserting Austin Reaves back into the starting 5. The indecisiveness with Austin Reaves in the starting lineup alone will lead people to question some of the decision making from Ham. Now, what is the significance of all of this? Well, A, it's important that we highlight how Darvin Ham was being very disingenuous, but also it is essential to highlight that all of Darvin Ham's decision making when it comes to lineups and rotation has never really addressed the biggest problem with the Lakers, and that is offense. Offensively this season, the Lakers have been miserable, consistently being in the bottom 10 and sometimes even worse than that. Now, why exactly is this team's offense so bad? Well, there are several contributing factors. The first and biggest one is the lack of three-point shooting. The Lakers are dead last in three-point attempts, second to last in three-pointers made, and shoot sub 36% with the long ball, which is below league average. Now, to be fair to Darvin, I don't really think that this team even has the personnel to be an excellent three-point shooting team. However, knowing that you only have limited three-point shooting, and knowing that the 2 best offensive players on the team in LeBron and AD both thrive when they have the ability to get to the basket, you would assume that a head coach would attempt to maximize each possession as possible with the maximum amount of floor spacing that is available to their disposal. Yet Darvin Ham has decided to go in the opposite direction by not only starting Cam Reddish, but even going as far to experiment with a starting lineup that consists of both Cam and Vanderbilt. Which then leads us to another problem with Coach Ham, and that's some of the rotations that he puts on the floor. Starting the season with Austin Reeves and D'Angelo Russell in the starting five was certainly a head scratcher, not only because of the redundancy in playing style, but also it would just make more sense to have some offensive firepower coming off the bench. And also Gabe Vincent theoretically was going to be a better complementary piece to the starting five anyway, so that was a head scratcher. Also, as time has progressed and his team struggles with three-point shooting, floor spacing, and a little bit more size inside so AD can be aided with rebounding, it is a huge head scratcher to why certain players like Max Christie and Christian Wood's minutes have been inconsistent, so much so that they've actually received DNPs when they have been available to play. But in my honest opinion, the most mind-blowing thing that Darvin Ham has done is put Cam Reddish into the starting lineup. I don't think that anyone in their right mind thought that Cam Reddish, a player who signed a vet minimum, a player who was on path to be a career journeyman, was going to find himself in the starting lineup for a team that had aspirations to make a deep postseason run. Now, let's be clear. I am not someone who is huge on this belief that every single position on the floor has to be able to shoot threes, because that's not true at all. But I am also fully aware that you have to have an offensive system to make sure that the non-floor spacers, when they're off ball, still gather some type of attention from the defense, because if not, the opposing team is just going to leave them open. And there are several ways to implement this, because we see throughout the NBA, there are several teams who play heavy minutes to non-floor spacers. However, to execute a lot of those sets, you need a coach who has a creative offensive mind, and that's just not Darvin Ham. What Ham tends to do with non-floor spacers and Jared Vanderbilt and Cam Reddish is just stick them in the corner and hope that they can knock down a three-point shot, which opposing teams are willing to live with those results when Reddish is shooting 34% from behind the arc and Vando is shooting 11%. And mind you, when both of these players are shooting threes, they are essentially booty butt naked open, and yet still shoot this poorly on wide open spot up threes, which essentially means that a team that already struggles offensively is basically playing 4-on-5 and half-court sets for 30+ minutes on a night-to-night basis. And the other problem that the Lakers face is that they have the wrong priority offensively. So as we all know, there's a bit of redundancy at the guard position with D'Angelo Russell and Austin Reeves, two ball-handling guards who aren't explosive enough to create their own shot, so they heavily rely on pick-and-roll sets to get some separation from the defense. But even when coming off of screens, they still aren't athletic enough to put constant pressure on the rim, so a lot of their game still happens in the mid-range area. And due to this redundancy and lack of dynamic style of play, it's the reason why the Lakers are looking for an upgrade at the guard position in Zach LaVine or DeJounte Murray. Heck, even in some of the more recent trade rumor talks, reportedly the Lakers have explicitly been looking for a more athletic backcourt. So from a fan perspective, that isn't a surprise at all. However, what is a surprise to me, that for whatever reason, people have convinced themselves that the Lakers should prioritize another scoring option on this team instead of attempting to maximize both LeBron and AD, even though we all know that the options that are available for the Lakers are not as good as LeBron and Anthony Davis. And this is especially true for AD, because anybody who has taken the time out to actually watch this team can thoroughly understand that the biggest problem that the Lakers have offensively is that they do not prioritize Davis enough. Anthony Davis is still averaging 25 points per game with 3 assists, 3 offensive rebounds, shooting 56% from the field, 34% from behind the arc, and 81% from the free throw line. For the season on post-ups, Anthony Davis is producing 1.14 points per possession. That is comparable to both Joel Embiid and Nikola Jokic. And mind you, these are the season averages. These are numbers that have been muddied down with really bad performances earlier on in the year when Anthony Davis was trying to manage himself being injured. So what has Anthony Davis looked like recently when he's been fully healthy? In the last 15 games, he's averaging 29 points, 11 rebounds, 3.5 assists, 2 blocks, while shooting nearly 60% from the field, 39% from behind the arc, and 77% from the free throw line. He's converting 80% of his shots in the restricted area, nearly 44% shooting from the mid-range, and is still one of the best post-scoring options in the NBA. Now, of course, you would think of a player who puts up numbers like that as someone that is prioritized. Well, let's check out the numbers. When it comes to LeBron on time of possession, he handles the ball roughly 5 minutes a game. Austin Reeves a little more than 4.5 minutes per game. D'Angelo Russell, slightly more than 4 minutes a game. And then when it comes to Anthony Davis, the player that just posted up those numbers that I just highlighted, on a game-to-game basis, he doesn't even get to possess the ball for 3 minutes. Not only is that noticeably less time than his own teammates, but to put it in even greater perspective, if you were to look at every player in the NBA who averaged at least 24 points per game this season, Anthony Davis is dead last in time of possession. So when we look at the big picture, when it comes to Darvin Ham, a lot of the criticism is valid. Questionable lineups and rotations, really poor half-court offensive sets, and struggling to find a way to put the ball in Anthony Davis's hands way more often are all legitimate reasons why many people in the Lakers fan base believe that Darvin Ham should lose his job. However, in the beginning of the video, I told you that I was going to find realistic changes to make the Lakers better. And firing a head coach in the middle of the season with a coaching staff that doesn't have that much experience doesn't sound like the greatest idea. So if Darvin stays, that means that the Lakers should be looking to trade. And I believe that's where this team will find a lot of their answers, but not in the places that many media outlets are reporting on. The Lakers attempting to step up to the plate and swing big at the trade deadline by acquiring either DeJounte Murray or Zach LaVine is not only unrealistic, but I don't even believe it's going to provide the answers that this team is looking for. Now sure, like I said it before with the Lakers, there is a bit of redundancy in the backcourt with both D'Angelo Russell and Austin Reeves. And of course, it will be great to see a significant upgrade that can aid this team offensively in the backcourt, and both DeJounte Murray and Zach LaVine will provide that to this team. With LaVine being a really good all-around scoring option that in particular will be the best three-point shooter on this team, while DeJounte Murray can provide the quickness and speeds as a ball handler that this team desperately needs, while also having the potential to provide way more value on the defensive side of the floor than any other options that are on the table right now. However, the reason why I believe that Murray and LaVine won't be a great answer for the Lakers has a lot to do with what we just established with Darvin Ham. If we are talking about a head coach that is struggling with something as simple as floor spacing or lineups, or struggling to get the ball to Anthony Davis more consistently, I have a hard time believing that Darvin Ham will have the ability to properly maximize LeBron, AD, and another star on this team. And possibly an even bigger reason why I don't think that this is the right move for the Lakers has a lot to just do with how much money both Zach LaVine and Murray are owed in the upcoming years. After this season, DeJounte Murray will be in the ballpark of $25 to $28 million for the next 4 years. For a third option on an incomplete roster, that is a pretty steep penny. And it becomes even more ridiculous when you look at Zach LaVine, who's getting paid upwards to $40 million in the next upcoming seasons. And once more, as long as LeBron is on this team, LaVine would be the third best offensive weapon for the Lakers. So what exactly should the Lakers do? In my opinion, it's pretty obvious. Use the blueprint that's already worked for you. The most frustrating thing about the Lakers is that this may be the first time I think I've ever seen an organization have the blueprint on how to build a team around their two-star players, and they have completely deviated from it every single year beyond 2021. And for whatever reason, from an organizational standpoint, the Lakers have been way more focused on trying to add another star to the team instead of trying to maximize the two that they already have on the roster. So instead of the Lakers rolling the dice, crossing their fingers, and hoping what they receive in return will work out for them, how about this? And I know this is going to sound crazy, but the Lakers should just use the same blueprint that won them a championship back in 2020. Go get a legitimate center to place next to Anthony Davis, not only because he'll be able to play his natural position at a 4 spot, which will give him a significant advantage amongst practically every power forward in the NBA, but more importantly, this will allow the DPOY candidate to do what he does best, and that is send weak side help at the basket, roam around, and have the ability to switch on the perimeter. And because the Lakers will have a legitimate big man, when AD does switch on a ball handler, they won't give up too much size inside when it comes to rebounding presence, which is something that the Lakers have struggled with mightily all season long. Go after legit shooters. And no, not players who have the ability to shoot threes. I'm talking about knockdown three-point shooters such as KCP. Players who have quick triggers, are really good at spotting up, and even come off of dribble handoffs just to mix up the offense a bit. Not only will this aid the Lakers' three-point shooting woes, but more importantly, you still want to be able to give both AD and LeBron the most floor spacing possible. And finally, finding really good defenders who aren't a liability on the offensive end of the floor, in particular, defenders who are great at standing in front of elite level ball handlers. The reason why this is valuable is because, of course, as we just stated, Darvin Ham isn't the greatest offensive mind when it comes to setting up players offensively. So just finding offensively inept defenders isn't going to be the best thing for this team as long as Ham is coaching. And also bringing along another quality defender on this team means that AD won't have to be asked to do too much, which I do believe is a significant problem with this team defensively so far this year. And looking at the landscape of the league, there's already a handful of teams that are willing to unload talent as they look to hit the restart button. So honestly, I don't think it'll be that difficult for the Lakers to acquire a lot of the talent that they may need on this team. So there you have it, a realistic answer on how the Lakers can significantly improve by the deadline. But hey, those are just my thoughts. Please let me know what you think about the video in the comment section below. I know many of you all have been missing me because I haven't been uploading consistently on this channel, and you're probably wondering, where am I at? Well, I'm normally streaming NBA games practically daily on a new platform that I'll leave the link in the description called playback.tv. Check me out there or on my other channels as well that I'll also leave in the description below. But as always, if you still enjoyed the video, make sure you give me a thumbs up, hit the subscribe button, and until next time, I'll see you all later. Peace.